Welcome to Real Talk TV. I'm your host, Darryl Buchanan. Have a great show for you today. But before I get to that, I'd just like to give a big shout out to my friends out in Haverhill, Leaving the Street Ministries, Wanda Jesus, doing big things with the kids. I really appreciate the work that you guys are doing on the front line. Guys, I love you, man, and I thank you for your support and everything that I do. I also like to give a big shout out to Joseph True Bennett, who's out there with Yard Time Entertainment out in Boston doing big things with the kids, man.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Bro,
sir.
He's really doing it. And he also has a mental health class for men out there. And you can check him out on Facebook and get with it. I appreciate all that you do. I also like to give a shout out to all the people that make this thing happen here. Without them, Real Talk TV wouldn't be happening. I like to give a shout out to Alex, Ryan, Matt, and Mike here at the WMCT Studios. I appreciate you guys, man. You help me in a big way. You're committed, and you make me be committed. Without any further ado or delay, I'd like to introduce my next guest. But before I do, let me explain a little bit to you. For me, when I came across this gentleman, it was through motivation. I saw what he was doing. His post, everything was positive. He was just an inspiration, not only to me. There's a lot of people that I reached out to that I'll speak on that later, but who he has encouraged and who he has inspired. And without further delay, I'd like to introduce my next guest, Mathematics, who's a group specialist and motivator at Bedrock Recovery Center in Kansas, Mass. All right, brother, can you introduce yourself to my audience a little bit, bro?
So I'm Mathematics. I'm a grateful man in recovery, and my problem is me. And the application of the 12 steps and a relationship with God is my solution. And I'm just, I am a group specialist at Bedrock Recovery Centers. I also work now on the alumni team. I'm a motivator at Bedrock Recovery, and then I'm also a recovery coach in Dedham House of Correction.
Bro,
able to give back. But before we go any further, right, in the dictionary, the word give comes before receive. And I'm taught in my recovery that the more I give, the more that I'll receive. Even if I just receive 24 hours clean, that's peace.
Good.
Even if I just receive some peace of mind, that's peace. It doesn't have to be anything materialistic. So just before we start off, I just want to bless you with your with your own spiritual, your own shirt. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. I just wanted to bless you with your shirt.
I appreciate
to
that,
show
bro.
you my appreciation for bringing me on the show today.
Yeah.
And this is your own shirt. Because for some reason I've learned along the way that the more that I just continue to give, expecting nothing in return, for some reason my life gets a little bit better.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we won't get into that, bro.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure I blessed you with that, before we even got started and got into what we're going to do.
I appreciate that. And we're going to get into that because I definitely want to talk about your brand and stuff like that. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother. Yeah, can you just tell us a little bit about where you came from and what your environment was like? I know for me, I always talk about it. For me, getting high was normal, right? For me, getting high from my environment and going to jail was normal. How was it for you, bro?
I mean, I would love to tell you all these bad trauma-based things and, growing up in a bad environment, but I actually grew up in a good environment. I grew up in Cambridge. My mother, one of the biggest things, it was more of a confusing situation. My mother introduced me to a gentleman. He was, introduced as my father, but there was another gentleman who was actually my biological father, and he did his best. My family grew up across the street. I had my grandmother upstairs. I had my uncle. My mother's one of the most loving people, if not the most loving person on the planet. I went to camps. I went to, good like after school programs, Camp Massapog. I was an only child, so my self-centeredness was on steroids. And one of my first traumas wasn't that I got beat, burnt with cigarettes, or that there was all this drug activity in my house. One of my first traumas was that my mother overloved me.
Wow.
Right? And by her overloving me meant she didn't really teach me any healthy boundaries. But we're just a real loving family, and I didn't know back then that I'm an addict. So I manipulate people that overlove. I take advantage of people that overlove because I'm a manipulator. It's in my nature to manipulate.
Okay, gotcha.
You know what I mean?
That's dope, yeah. Wow, I never heard that before, man. Yeah, I never heard that before.
But my upbringing, and then, just real quick, she introduced me I met my father when I was like 11, my biological father, and he was a millionaire by the time he was 30. He was in the streets. He was a hustler. He was in the game. He got robbed in the combat zone in Boston in like 1977. He went and started a construction company. He was a millionaire by the time he was 30. And I was exposed to like a lot of different avenues with construction. I was jackhammering concrete in Orchard Park at 12 years old.
Wow.
So I was definitely given some direction to do things positive. I went to church school. I was an angel without wings. I was actually like exposed to some good things, but I didn't know then that I have this thing inside of me called a spiritual malady, that no matter what they gave me, I was always uncomfortable in my own skin.
Wow, that's dope. All right, so that brings the next question,
Please.
man. Yeah, what type of student were you? If you say so, the house was cool, and yeah, but what type of student when you left the house and you went to school? How was school with you?
So I've always had behavior issues. My first three addictions were acceptance, validation, and approval. And so I wanted everybody to like me. I wanted it. My first, second day of kindergarten, my mother had to come get me. Every single year from kindergarten all the way until I graduated from high school, I was suspended from school at least once a year. I've been kicked out of 2 schools. I even went to a private school. So I've always had behavior issues, not because I was a tough kid. I had a lot of insecurities. So I would act out to mask those insecurities. I would act out because I always felt inadequate. I always felt less than. I was never comfortable. So when I misbehaved and I act out and I disrespect a teacher, it gave me the validation and the attention. I think now it might have to do with some daddy issues where I was always looking for that daddy's approval. So I acted out to get that approval that I really wanted to get from my father.
Dope, yeah. Wow. All right, so now you're in school. Let me ask you, how did you get introduced, or what was your first experience with drugs?
So when I was younger, I had a friend, and he came by the house, and he had some weed from his older brother. And I knew I wasn't supposed to smoke this weed. I grew up, I knew I wasn't supposed to smoke the weed. I knew I wasn't supposed to be drinking. I knew there were certain things that I wasn't supposed to do. But like I said, that discomfort and those insecurities and just really not feeling like comfortable with who I am, always feeling empty. When he offered it to me, I was willing to try something because I was in some internal pain that I really didn't know how to express. I really didn't know what to do for it. But I just knew that, because for me to sit there and smoke weed and drink and stuff like that, you know, like I said, I went to church school. My mother sat there and taught me right from wrong. I knew I wasn't supposed to do it. I did see people drinking growing up. I did see people smoking cigarettes growing up. I did see people smoking marijuana. So sometimes when you see someone you love doing something, you say because they're doing it, it must be okay. You know, alcoholism does run in my family. Addiction does run in my family. Hustling issues. You know, a lot of my cousins and stuff
The
from my
lifestyle,
father guys were pimps, hustlers, all that type of stuff. So the whole thing does run in my family. Some of it on my mother's side, some of it on my father's side. But you know, they didn't have, not to the extreme. When I go, it always ends up in jails, institutions, and death. Those are the 3 guarantees. If I put a mind-altering substance in my body, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's a matter of when it's going to happen. When I'm going to overdose, when I'm going to end up in jail, and when I'm going to end up in a detox.
Yeah, you sound like me, bro. You sound like you reached another level of
Yeah.
insanity. We talk about insanity, doing the same thing over and over.
Expected.
But that don't sound like you. You sound like mine, doing the same thing over and over, knowing what the hell was going to happen and doing it anyway. I think that was my level. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I knew all that.
And I realize now that like that real insanity is the insanity of the way I live my life when I'm sober. Drugs and alcohol is my solution.
Wow.
Recovery and sobriety is my problem, right?
Wow.
It's not, the problems don't stop if you give me drugs and alcohol, I'm good. I'm chilling. I don't have a care in the world. It's when you take the substance away that I don't know how to live. It's when you take the drug dealing away that I don't know how to live. It's when you take the womanizing away that I don't know how to live.
Wow.
It's when I look in the mirror and I take all the gold off and all the jewelry and all the earrings and all the gear, right? That's when I'm not comfortable with me, and then I need something outside of me. I know now that the spiritual malady is out of reach for inner peace. So I'm always looking, I have a void that I'm always looking for something external to fill something that's internal.
Wow, that's dope. Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay, so when did you notice drugs became a problem?
The first time I did a mind-altering substance, man, all I wanted to do was it over again. I slept with my first girl at 13. I was obsessed with women ever since. I did smoked my first joint at 13. I've been obsessed with marijuana and drugs ever since, and I drank for the first time at 13. And that was basically, I was obsessed. And when I say obsessed, meaning like, when can I hurry up and do this again? The disease is progressive, but it wasn't progressive for me. It was instant. And a lot of that control and that validation and approval, I got that from drug dealing. When you grow up with a single mother, my mother had to work a lot. So when I'm home alone, now I'm being raised by Eazy-E. Now I'm being raised by NWA. Now I'm seeing particular people in the streets doing particular things. And it just kind of like took off from there. So 13 is when I first tried everything, but I probably got really, really bad once my freshman or sophomore year in high school. It was instant for me.
Wow.
The need for more,
Yeah.
was there. People say, Math, what are you addicted to? I'm addicted to more.
Yeah.
Anything that makes me feel good.
Got you.
I'm addicted to.
Got you. All right, so when did you accept the fact that you was an addict or that you had a disease? I mean, because this is the only thing disease that we self-diagnose. So when did you think, okay, this is a problem, this is something I gotta do about this? I mean, there's many times that we attempt, the judge for me was the first time that said I had a problem. He locked me up, he told me I had to go to a Bridgewater for the detox, some type of thing like that. When did that happen for you?
So when I came home at 30 from my second state bid, my whole life I've sold drugs. So I always felt as though I wasn't an addict because I always had it. I was always nicely dressed. I was always able to like keep myself up. I'm not no Denzel Washington, but I'm also not no Shabba Ranks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was always able to appear good.
Yeah.
Like I said, being a womanizer and girls constantly feeding my ego. He's a good-looking brother. Boom, boom, boom. So I came home from prison this time at almost 29, and I wasn't dealing. And then I started to go to work, take my check, and then I would go buy drugs. And all it really was growing up was I was selling dope, so then I would sniff what I had. I was selling coke, so then I would do what I had. I was selling weed, so I would do what I had. Pills. So I never really considered myself an addict. I always considered the hustling masked the fact that I was an addict. It gave me a false illusion that like I had it going on, but I was already strung out, man. What basically happened was back in when I really found out that I was a dope fiend. One day I called my boy. I'm not gonna say his name, but he used to hustle for me, and then he would pay me in cash, and he would give me a couple bags of dope, and he would say, "Yo, man, if you do this when you're in the bed with the girls, it'll be better, right?" Yeah. And I was like, "Really? I need some help there, so let me get that, right?" Yeah. So one day I woke up and I said, "Yo, man, I got the flu." And he was like, "You ain't got the flu. You're dope sick." I said, "Man, I ain't no dope fiend. What you mean?" I said, "Man, I got the flu, man. I ain't feeling good. I can't come meet you." He said, "Come pick me up." We went to Mission Hill, and this is when Mission Hill was so gangster. If you didn't know somebody, you couldn't just walk in there.
Yeah.
He went in there, came out, gave me 2 bags. Instantly, I went from being sick to feeling like Superman. I knew then, but because I was always selling it, I couldn't really accept it. But when I came home from prison this time, and I was actually going to work, and then taking my check and going out and buying drugs, that's when I really was like, all right, man, you're an alcoholic, you're an addict. But I went to my first treatment center at 16 years old back in 1986.
Wow.
So I went to, in 1986 at 16, I was already in the detox, and I went to my first NA meeting at Marcus Garvey in 1986.
Wow. Wow, didn't get the message, but I was always saying to myself,
the seed was planted, though.
Yeah.
The seed was planted. But
I heard my first message at 17 up there. I remember up in Walpole. I was sitting there, and I didn't really go for the meeting, but I just went to congregate with, because I couldn't see other brothers from other blocks, and we used to sit up there and talk junk about them people coming in, man, character assassinating them. They were bums, and they were like, in my eyes, they were really like bums, right, eating out of garbage can. Their stories I just couldn't connect with.
Yes.
But later on in life, man, I did everything that they said, man. It's crazy, man, how that thing happened. I didn't listen, and I ended up doing exactly what they said, man.
I mean, I did the same thing. Walpole, that's how you would get the 2.5.
Yeah, you would get some good time.
In Concord, you sign up, you get the good time for going, and You know, all those people I made fun of. I remember I used to
It's
make.
crazy,
I remember
right?
I used to call them crackheads when they were younger.
Yeah.
And I would make them dance for money and do all these
Dumb
things for
stuff.
money. And all those people that I made fun of and manipulated when I was growing up, I became those people.
It's crazy how that happened.
Yeah.
It's me too. All right, tell me, how did it end for you, like physically, mentally, and spiritually? I know for me, I was busted on the street, running from the law, homeless, roamless, and domeless, bro. I was done, right? I wanted to die, but the only reason why I didn't die is because I needed a hit, right? It was just, I was bound. When the end for me, it was like jump off the bridge. No, go get a hit first, and then go back and jump off the bridge. That's where I was at the end, bro. You know, the only thing that I think at that point saved me was my addiction because I wanted another hit.
Got you.
You know what I mean? How did it end for you?
So drugs and alcohol, like if you just put drugs and alcohol on this table, drugs and alcohol don't get me in trouble. But every time I get in trouble, I'm on drugs and alcohol. You feel me?
Yeah.
So anytime I put drugs in my hand to sell it, or anytime I pick up drugs or alcohol and put on my body to do it, the end is always jails, institutions, and death. So every time I did my first 3 to 5 at like 17 or 18, I went back at 23, did almost 6. I went back at 35, did 3. Then I just went back at 45. I had my smallest bid ever, 2 years. And every time I would go, every incarceration, I never wanted to do the drug program because I always want to go on visits, get shorties to come up. I thought that like selling pictures, I thought that playing chess, trying to lift all these weights, playing whisk. I thought I would always go to prison and never address what I was going there for. So what happened this time is, and it talks about
Wow.
it in the big book Alcoholics Anonymous, I overdosed 7 times. And so normally an alcoholic or an addict has to hit rock bottom or have some type of near-death experience. So one time I overdosed, and, you know, shout out to Mike Green, OP Mike Green. He brought me back, man, you know, and that really touches because, yo, he could have left me for dead. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He brought me in the hallway. He called, and it was like, I was having a white light experience. My life was starting to flash because you get 7 minutes of brain activity after you die. And there was like a white thing and there was like a tape. It was a reel. I saw my grandmother. My life was flashing in front of me, and then the EMT was like, "Welcome back." But because I was caught up in the grips of addiction, it was my birthday, and my family was waiting for me at the Dolphin in Cambridge. The dude was like, "Welcome back." They brought me to BMC. They wanted me to be evaluated for 4 to 5 hours. I knew my family was waiting for me, and I didn't want them to know that I just overdosed. And I'm always trying to make appearances with my family like I'm not getting high when I'm a mess, right?
Yeah.
And what ended up happening, man, I ripped the IV out of my arm. The Narcan had me real low. I went and bought some cocaine, and then I went and met my family. It could have went 2 ways. I showed up, but I showed up high, and all my family knew, so I ruined it anyways. But in the back of that ambulance, if they didn't bring me back, shout out to Boston EMS. I never really got the chance to thank that brother, so maybe this video he might see. But if I didn't make it back, my family members would have been at the Dolphin to celebrate my birthday, but they would have got the call that now it's time to get ready to bury your son, right? And so when people sit there and say that, like, that's why it wasn't really hard for me to get into step 2, because I know that the creator, you know what I mean, that, you know, has a better plan
Somebody
for me, man.
intervened,
You know,
yeah.
I was intervened so that I could come back, man, and inspire others, man, and give back. And it wasn't until I got to Walpole this time that I got a moment of clarity and, like, that actually I knew that the game was up, man. And, you know, I was spiritually broken, man. And, like, I got locked up in Nashville Street at 44 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of dude, man, I make $10,000 bails, $15,000. You know, I can make a $5,000 bail. So at 44 years old, I was in Nashville Street on a $300 bail. My grandmother had just died. I'm my mother's only child, right? And my mother was going to bury her mother. My aunt had just took me to K&G's. We got me a suit because I lost so much weight, nothing fit. So they got me a suit, you know, because that's what I do. I spend all my money and I'm broke, and then I got to have my family buy stuff for me so I can put on an appearance that everything's okay, right? I do the same thing, sell all these drugs on the street, and then I'm calling my mother to send me money in the joint, right? So
I get it.
what ended up happening was, man, is my mother had to make a decision. We went and got the suit on a Monday. I got arrested at McDonald's on Mass Ave on a Tuesday. My mother had to make a decision. The funeral was Monday. She had to make a decision on Monday or Tuesday of the following week. She had to make a decision. Do I bail my son out so he can possibly overdose, or do I leave him there so he misses the funeral?
Wow.
Right? So then I told her, I'll go to a program. And like my mother went to Al-Anon, so shout out to Al-Anon. Once your family members go to Al-Anon, the party and the manipulation is over.
To be over, yeah.
So to make a long story short, my mother on a $300 bail, man, now at 44 years old, I was going up to my cell and this young boy was like, yo, what's up, OG? And I knew that's when I got the reality check. I looked at him, OG, but I got the reality check, man, that I threw my whole life away.
Yeah.
Like that this was the reality. My mother left me in there on the $300 bail, came up, put like $100 on my book, said, get the cosmetics and stuff you need.
Fall back.
Get comfortable, right? Then I got to Concord 52A. Everybody has Suboxones, and all these dudes that I looked out for, man, you ain't got no money, man. We you know.
It's a done
And
deal.
so I was sick up there, and I finally was able to get out after like 27 days. They let me out on the bracelet, and that was a reality check, man. That no longer was I a hustler, no longer did I have it going on. That I was finally overdosing, and I would like to tell you that I stayed good after that. But as soon as they gave me the bracelet, I ended up overdosing on the bracelet, and the EMSs on the train said to me, man, you got the bracelet on, you just overdosed.
Yeah, that's
On the bracelet.
diseased up.
The diseased up, man. The mental obsession is that strong.
I get it.
So that's what it was. It was the old, like 50 Cent got shot 9 times, he changed his life. A lot of these soldiers will go overseas, they'll get into a bombing or something, they'll come back, they'll inspire others. A lot of people need some type of near-death experience, man, before they decide to change.
Yeah, and you're powerful, man. So yeah, you know what I mean. I know you have to have a lot of gratitude and appreciation for what happened to you because your message is strong. You know, there's a lot of brothers out there, you know, that pass messages and all messages are good if they're positive. I get it, but you have something special. You know what I mean? Your motivation and your style, what God has given you, man, it really does motivate people.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? I wanted to. Can you turn my phone on, Carol? I'm gonna need that at some point. Because there's some brothers that sent in a couple messages I do want to let you know. But before I get to that, tell me a little bit about, you do a lot of like work outreach and stuff like that. Can you tell me a little bit about it? I see that you were on Mass Ave. One of your things I saw maybe like 4 or 5 months ago, you was doing a video on Mass Ave. What is you being on Mass Ave? What is your connection and why is outreach so important to those people down there?
So I went down to Mass Ave in 2013 to try the methadone. And I went down there to get 30 milligrams of methadone to try to change my life. I was living with this young lady. She was getting fed up. And the last thing I thought on the block was going to be my solution was I was going to go down Mass Ave and methadone was going to save my life. Methadone does help a lot of people, but I went down there and the thing with me is I can't take any mind-altering substances safety. So I went down there, got the 30 milligrams. Then I was introduced to the cocktail, and I fell in love with the cocktail, which is a Dean, a Finnegan, a Klonopin, and a Johnny. Wow. And you take that on top of your dose. And I get basically, I call it the Bermuda Triangle. The triangle would be different on any given day. It would be Mass Ave, Orchard Park, and Dudley, back to Mass Ave, or it'd be Mass Ave, Lenox, and Dudley, back to Mass Ave. So every day that I would go down there to get my dose, I would end up getting stuck down there. And I just went down there to try to get on the methadone clinic to get sober, and I ended up being down there from 2013 to 2016. And I didn't care, man. This was before everybody was where they are now. This is before we were like under the overpass and everybody. And I used to just be out there, man, I'd be out there from 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the laborers union, and I thought I was going to sell pills professionally. So I went and got on all these medications, right? So then I would buy everybody's script, and then I would pour them in my bottle, and I would walk around Mass Ave. My mother was like, let's get you back in the union. Nah, man, I'm good. I'm not ready to go back to work yet. Because I thought I was going to sell pills professionally down on Mass Ave until a blessing happened. And you know, I got a lot of love for snitches. Because if it wasn't for snitches, man, yo, snitches actually saved my life, man. Every time I went to prison, this last time, prison saved me. When I got to Walpole that weekend, 104 people had overdosed on fentanyl.
Wow.
So I'm shout out to the D boys that lied on me. Shout out to the dude that snitched on me. And the judge this time that sentenced me, he said, "You sound like a real intelligent brother." I'm just going to share this real quick. This was the first time that I went to court. Me, my lawyer, and my two godfathers, rest in peace, Ronnie Glover, and Bobby Evelyn, and my lawyer. We all said a prayer, right? Putting that positive thought into the universe. We all said a prayer for me. And when I went in the courtroom, the judge was like, "Man, you seem like a real intelligent brother." Boom, boom, boom. And after he sentenced me, I cried. And I didn't cry out of fear. I've been going to Walpole my whole life. But I knew I was getting ready to have a funeral for the old version of me. And I was being planted. I was planted in my pain to find my purpose. And I got to Walpole this time, man. And I had I had a little package on me. I didn't know that when you get up there, if you get a dirty urine, they dry tank you.
Yeah, they hold you
At
down.
the time, and so I ended up having to divert with the package, man. And my whole vision was to get up there and sell all these Suboxones and give it an illusion that I got it going on. And it was the biggest blessing, man. I was stripped, and then all I had at the end of the day was myself, man. You know, my boy Fresh is here today. You know, they always looked out, but they let me dry out. They knew the Suboxones was up there. Nobody sent any money for 4 or 5 weeks. And this big time hustler, this big time dude with all the lip service and all I had up there, man, every single bid, man, I got it going on up there. Canteen bags giving me validation and who I am. I'm letting a canteen bag that's in some food in a plastic bag govern my manhood, how much I'm worth.
That's how it is, too,
You
right?
feel me?
It is. It is
And
up
so
there.
it was a blessing in disguise, man, that I got up there. And then this time I was stripped of everything, but that's what needed to be happen so that I could find mathematics. My attribute was divine. You know, this whole thing, my idol's Malcolm X. He went from Malcolm Little to Detroit Red to Malcolm X to Malik Al-Shabazz. I went from Daniel Ravaliant to Dawood in 1990 in Norfolk to Divine when I started building with the guards in Norfolk in 95. And then when I came back this time, I became, I changed my attribute to mathematics. So life is really about reinventing yourself. I would have never found the true version of myself as mathematics because I am mathematics and mathematics is in everything.
Everything.
Right? I can't live without mathematics. And mathematics is everything, but mathematics is also me. So when I would have never found the best version of myself if I wasn't stripped of everything.
Yeah, cool. I appreciate that. All right, let me explain. There's a couple brothers, man, you know what I mean, that sent in messages that I wanted to share, you know what I mean, what they're saying. Brother Lovely, man, we talked about it, and he said, this is what he said about you. He said, a spiritual path math, right? He said, that's my bro, and without question, one of the sharpest brothers I know. His approach to recovery and his wisdom shines bright in our community because he is an example of hope and the possibilities of greatness if you make some changes and do the work. So the brother, he talks really good about you. I have another brother that cued in, and I want to just tell you what he said. And I mean, I think you should know what brothers are saying, right? It feels good, right? That brothers.
Like he told me, well, me and Fresh were driving out here. Fresh being Doug for the people that are watching, Mr. Douglas, D Nice on social media.
Right.
He said to me that my man Mike Griswold said something nice to me.
Mike Griswold.
And even though all the motivation and the recovery, my mind tells me I'm not worth it.
Yeah.
My mind can tell me that, like, I don't deserve this. You know what I mean? Because I can still think about all the pain. You know, I still have children, even though that are, like, broken from the years of damage.
I want to talk about that.
So I appreciate that, but sometimes I can tell myself that I'm not really worth it and I don't deserve those accolades. But I love Lee. He's an inspiration for me. If it wasn't for me listening to him talk about MAT on your show, he changed my narrative and my directive and my perception of MAT from what I saw him say on your show right here. So shout out to you, Lee. I love you, bro.
Yeah, and I'm, and you're all the people that come on, the brothers that are doing their thing, that come on the show, and I do have people that I've been asking people to tell me a little bit about what you think. They say the same thing, man. It's hard for us to accept that, and I say that we have to get to a place where we have to embrace that, right? Because people's perceptions, not that they're so important, but if you inspire people, then that perception is something you should hold on. You should embrace. And I'm sure there's many. I'm telling you, for me, you know what I mean. That watching and reading your posts, it is inspirational. You go for that. That's like food, and it becomes a food every morning. Let me go see what this brother's saying, or let me find out what this brother's saying. This brother sends me a message every morning. Lee, every morning I get something from him. You need that, bro, because you just never know, bro. But you need to embrace this. Good mathematics to me is a great man, a gladiator who is turning his tragedy to triumph by utilizing his lived experience by channeling his message of recovery. That recovery is possible through poetry, public speaking, and utilizing multimedia platforms. He is living proof that recovery is work, and that's from Tyshawn. The brother that was here. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I just wanted you to listen. That you have to embrace that. A lot of times, people's perception of us, man. I know for me, at the end, my name was Get Out, right? I was like dog doodle to people, right? And we teach people how to treat us. So, I taught people that's who I had become. And you're living and we're in recovery. And it's good to have those thoughts. I mean, people have those perceptions of. So embrace that, man.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Those are the you are affecting people's life. Yes. You know what I mean? I want to get back to speaking of your kids now, because you just said something about your kids. How many kids do you have?
So I really have 6.
Wow, you have 6.
But there's one where I really didn't. It's a long story.
All right, so
it's too long. It's too long.
It's too
I
long
don't know
for
if I want
TV.
to but it's a long story. So I have 5. Right. I have my daughter Kayla, love her to death.
Sky,
32. I have my son Justice, 19. I have my daughter Diva, 18, and then I have Sky that's 9, and then I have Summer. I call her Snooks, and I call Sky Skizzle. Snooks is going to be 3 on Sunday.
Wow.
And I have a good relationship with all of them, but because of my addiction, my daughter Diva, I still haven't been able to get back into her life like I would like to. But it's just there's just been some. I've overdosed with my kids in the house.
Yeah.
My son Justice, who's like my #1 supporter, he swallowed a whole Suboxone in 18 months.
Wow.
My older daughter Kayla, the first time I ever met her, she met me. The first time I ever saw her, I got pictures of her while I was in the RB in Norfolk. Mm-hmm. The first time I ever saw her in her life, I held her in the Norfolk visiting room. Wow. So all my kids, that's why this is a family disease.
Yeah.
Right? It does what I do. It ripple effects, yeah. and it affects 100%. Anybody. So my only sober child is Snooks, Summer. I was able to give birth, and she will never see me use, because I get up every day and prioritize my recovery to make sure that she can experience her father clean and sober and not have to go through some of the horrors that I put all my other kids through.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, bro. Yes, yeah, I understand that. Yeah. So the relationships with them, only with one is kind of off right now. But
I got 2 grandkids, one 11, Aubrey, shout out, and then
and they get to all see you clean, right?
CJ, yes. Oh well, not Aubrey, not CJ.
Okay.
I have to. They saw me. They probably don't remember, but they saw me struggling. But my older daughter can see me now with my younger daughters, and she doesn't say it, but I'm sure that she's kind of like, where was that when I was a kid? And I can motivate all these people and inspire all these people, but when you have when I came home from prison, I was in Wyman Reentry, and I got a text from my daughter. I was doing all this posting on Facebook, getting all this attention and validation. Look at me. And when you get a text from your daughter that says, "I'm letting these men treat me like this because you haven't been in my life."
Wow.
Right? It hit me like a ton of bricks, man. So when my motivation now is big, and that's my heart, man. She had 2 kids young. She made some decisions, but she went back and got a master's degree.
Wow.
She's doing it.
Doing a thing.
You
That's
know,
good, man.
Amazing mother.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, you can give a shout out to them if you want your kids.
Nah,
You can do
she
your
knows
thing.
I love her to death.
You can do your
I
thing.
love her. I love her soon to be. I hope he's gonna marry her, man. I've been all the bad decisions I made with women, and then she had, you know, because the earth rotates from right to left. So what you put out in the front is eventually to hit you in the back. Like when I was selling drugs clean, 2 years, 11 months clean. They got clean cells for clean addicts.
Yes, they do.
Right. So I went to jail clean. So for her to be blessed with the gentleman she has in her life and how good he is with my grandkids. And after, you know, everything that I've been through, because I'm good at a lot of things, but relationships isn't one of them.
Do you fear that you'll experience? I have these fears. You know, that one of my kids will go through that. It's like that's like one of my biggest nightmares. Like if my daughter or my son end up being, yeah, I have those fears. I think about it because it's like you just said, things go right.
Yeah.
What I did to my mother, am I gonna experience that? You know
I mean,
what
that's part of my movement. Like my daughter, Sky, she knows that we go to the meetings so that I can take her to the park. Because if we don't go to the meetings where I can continue to live in the solution, when she sees me get up at 4:35 in the morning and meditate and write my gratitude list and do everything I do, she knows that we're doing this so that I can be right. Because the recovery is just like a business. The ROI, which means the return on your investment, is amazing.
Wow.
If you give an hour to your recovery a day, you get 23 back. If you give an hour and a half to your recovery a day, you get 22 and a half hours back. If you give 2 hours to your recovery a day, you get 22 hours back. Major investment, right?
Yeah.
But the quality of those 23, 22 and a half, or 22 and a half hours is going to be how much you sit there and work on your spiritual condition. Meaning like being spiritually fit. Like I usually want my watch to be nice, so I'll wipe it off. I usually want my car to be nice, so I went to the car wash this morning. I want my sink to look good. I want it to be in good condition, so I do it and then I scrub it out. So what am I doing for my spirit to be in good fit spiritual condition, man, so that I can live a good life and have a good day? Because I'm born with a spirit, but I'm taught religion.
Getting back. So now that you've got said that, how about let me ask you a question. We talked about it. What's the difference between recovery or being in recovery, right, and just being absent?
So being in recovery is a thinking and a personality change. It's a psychic change that comes from the relationship with the God of your understanding. The beautiful thing about this program in step 3, it says God, not until the 3rd step, but it says as we understood him. In religion, you have to honor Prophet Muhammad a lot. In religion, you have to honor Jesus Christ, Buddha, Judaism, Jehovah. You have to do particular things. The beautiful thing about this program is it can be the God of your understanding. So, and, you know, your God can be inside of you. The GOD can be a group of drunks, group of drug addicts getting off of drinking, getting off of drugs, gratitude over drinking, if it's once, whatever you choose it to be. So being in recovery means I form a relationship with my higher power, some God consciousness, and then I get in tune with my higher self so that I can live a better life, right? Being in recovery and abstinent, meaning just being clean and sober, that means the ego's still in charge. Being in recovery means that the God of my understanding is in charge, whatever you choose it to be. The first letter in recovery is R, and the last one is Y, because recovery is about becoming the real you, right? So if you even look at the word recovery, the last 5 letters spell over Y. Over yourself. Get over yourself so that you can recover. The first 3 letters in recovery are R-E-C. I have to wreck the old version of myself and then recreate a new version of myself.
Wow, that's
feel
dope.
me?
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna go. I might just knock this over.
Go ahead. Yeah. All right. So listen. Can you tell me what do you do consistently for your recovery? What does your recovery require you to do every day so you can get another 24?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I go above and beyond, and so.
What is that, brother? What is it?
So what it is like as I'm staying sober, my disease is getting worse, and as I'm staying in recovery, my disease is getting worse. So I have to enlarge my spiritual condition, right? The things that I used to do at 30 days with the pressures of life that I have now, that's not going to be enough. So just real quick, I get up at 4:36 every morning, and I try to go to bed every night between like 10:30, 11, sometimes earlier. That's how I stay in tune with my circadian rhythm. I can't touch my cell phone or get my coffee until I do all my spiritual work. I do like a 20-minute meditation. I write. I read out of like 4 or 5 different books. I take all my vitamins. I drink room temperature water with lemon in it. I wake myself up with ice cubes to wake my body up. And then I have to earn my cell phone because you get 2 options when you wake up. I can either be a thermometer or I can be a thermostat. A thermometer means I go into a room and I take the temperature. If everybody's gossiping, then I'm gossiping. If everybody's judging, I'm judging. If everybody's being positive, I'm positive. If everybody's being critical, I'm critical. So when I get up and do all that stuff that I do in the morning, I'm being a thermostat. I'm setting myself to recovery. I'm setting myself to acceptance. I'm setting myself to willingness. I'm setting myself to open-mindedness so that I can go about my day. And I have I do a gratitude list, 3 things to watch for, 3 things to strive for. I journal. I do a 2-way prayer where I sit down and I ask a question to the universe. Then I meditate from anywhere from 9 to 25 minutes and wait for an answer. And I get the answer in different forms. So I have a lot that I do. But that's because I'd rather do that work for an hour than sit in Shirley Mack's for 24 hours. I'd rather do that work for an hour to sit in the treatment center for 24 hours. I'd rather do that work for an hour in the morning to sit 6 feet deep forever. I go hard, man. When I go, man, I go till the wheels fall off. There's no, and now, me and Fresh were talking, I can sell drugs in front of the police and get high in front of the police, and then they're giving out methadone and Suboxone in the joint. If I relapse, there ain't no coming back.
There's no coming back.
There's no coming back. Yeah. So what do? I have to get up, man, and I prioritize my recovery on a daily basis, man. And as long as in the dictionary, the word recovery, it comes before work, it comes before relationships, it comes before school, it comes before sex, it comes before success, it comes before weddings, it comes before women, it comes before working out. As long as I prioritize the recovery, all that stuff is going to come. But anything I've tried to put in front of my recovery, I'm going to lose.
You're going to lose anyway, right?
I'm going to lose it anyways, man. There's nothing human that can keep me sober. Because Prince overdosed with 200 million. Michael Jackson overdosed with 200 million.
Yeah.
Robin Williams overdosed. Whitney was worth 20.
Yeah.
DMX. Tough. So if there was anything human, tangible, anything,
they had access.
They would have. Yeah. He would have called his concierge service and said, "Yo, go get that for me." There's no human aid, so I have to get up every day, become the best version of me by working on that connection with the best version of myself, my higher self.
Good stuff. There's 2 things I want to get to. The brother was talking about having 18 years and still have to be so vigilant and in the center of his recovery. Why is that? And because remember I said that a lot of people have a lot of years, but are not enough days, right? We get complacent. We stop doing what worked,
so
right?
You got to work on your ABCs. And my ABCs are always be consistent, always be creative, right? Always be correctable, right? Mm-hmm. And always try my best to be considerate. You know what I'm saying? Consistency is my friend and complacency is my enemy. When I'm complacent, I feel good. But when I'm consistent, I feel good, but then everybody around me feels good. I also send out recovery motivation in the morning to about 40 different people. I have sponsees that we send gratitude lists back and forth every day. I got one sponsee that's on day like almost, shout out Monty, he's on almost day 800 of his gratitude list. I had another sponsee before he chose to go another path, Jake, shout out Jake. He was on day like 300 and something of his gratitude list. Shout out Keegan, he's my spiritual brother. He sends me a gratitude list every day. He's almost on day 300. Shout out Devin, he's on day like 30. Shout out Triz, my man Troy, he's on day like 90. So I got like 6 brothers that send me gratitude list every day, right? Because the gratitude list is like the #1 relapse prevention tool. Yeah. That keeps me in the middle. Then I have 30 to 40 people I send motivational memes out to every day. That keeps me in the middle. If those people don't see that recovery by 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning,
something's going on.
They're like, man, what's going on? You good?
Yeah.
Right? That keeps me in the middle. I'm blessed to work in the recovery field now. I gave up the union. Sometimes less is best. Spiritually rich over financially rich. Yeah, I was making big money in the union,
Yeah.
but I was smoking coke in the party all day. It's really hard to meet a drug dealer on a lunch break. Right? Right? It was really hard because for me, I can't hold the wake up. So I go to work sick.
Either, yeah.
I try to meet the drug dealer on a lunch break. So I make less money than I would be in the union, but me, sometimes less is best. And when I say spiritually rich, like happiness is fleeting. I'm happy when I'm in the union, but fulfillment is built off of like spiritual groundness. And fulfillment is like when I do something for myself, but I also do something for others. So when I'm able to touch people's lives now working at Bedrock, when I'm able to touch people's lives now working at the prison, those guys get the hope shot, man. I go right after being a habitual criminal, doing 4 state bids, 15 winters, 14 summers. Yo, I got a key. Yo, I walk right in. I tell the CO, yo, man, crack 38.
It's crazy, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They come out. I go right on the unit, man. I engage and I give them the hope shot, man. We're here, if they just need someone to talk to, cool. I basically tell them, man, while I'm in there, I'm like Bill Belichick. I'm trying to help you come up with a defense, man, and an offense so you can win a champion. And I'm a Steelers fan, but he's a genius when it comes to being a coach.
Yeah. Yes. All right. So your poetry. People talk about your poetry a lot. I've watched you speak on some of those things, man. Can we? Why do you like poetry? Why is that one of the vehicles that you use to transmit, the information? That's number one question. And the second part of that question is, can we get you to do one?
So poetry allows me, I'm a sensitive dude. I'm an insecure dude. I'm a very emotional dude. I care what people think about me. I can be very judgmental. I'm very critical of myself, and then I can become critical of others. And that's why I do that spiritual work on a daily basis, because I go to bed in recovery, but I wake up an alcoholic or an addict. Poetry is very expressive for me, and I can basically get out my words. I've never been a rapper, but so poetry slows down a little bit so that I can get something out. But I never really knew that I could really do poetry until I came home this time. I've always did stuff like with I used to beatbox when I was younger. We had a crew. I tried to rap a little bit, but we used to beatbox, and I've always been a creative, like a freelance writer. I wrote a lot of stories. I used to write stuff when I was in the joint. But I'm one of them brothers that always start something, but I never turn it into nothing. Right? I always start something and never finish it. So the poetry, man, just really has given me the opportunity to express who I am and also use my pain of addiction, prison, and being in the prison of my own mind. We were talking about stigma earlier and like how people judge you. And I've stigmatized myself more than anybody else on the planet. I've told myself I'm not good enough because of how I look. I've told myself that I'll never be this. I've stigmatized myself more than anything on the planet. So poetry is a healing process. Healing is a process, right? And poetry is a healing process for me, man. And I can use it now as a vehicle to help other people heal as well.
So let's do that right now, then. If it's okay with you, man, could we give? Let's just poetry. Let's hear it.
All right. My whole life, I've been stigmatized and judged. My need for drugs has been replaced with my need for love. My superego is the critic. My insecurities are my enemy. 80 cc's of dope was almost the end of me. Every day I woke, it was all about the drugs. My mother begged and pleaded. I took advantage of her love. The feelings I got from drugs define my worth. Resentment and fear were the cause of the hurt. I needed help with the pain, so I put the 12 steps to work. A home group and a sponsor helped me build my self-esteem. Getting a year sober is every addict's dream. Consciously rising every day, activating mindfulness is the true meaning of cream. Love is a priority. Self-care is a must. The 12 steps are the pizza. Helping others is the crust. Intimacy is mental. The body craves lust. Together we recover. Alone we use. There's 9 letters in both spiritual and addiction. It's up for you to choose. Never let your past define who you are. Everyone is beautiful. Never hide your scars. Love is the light. Self-acceptance is the tree. Addiction is the prison. Helping others set you free. God is the root. Self-acceptance is the tree. Man, recovery has more blessings than a sneeze.
Hey, thank you for that,
Feel
bro.
me?
Yeah, appreciate that.
All
Hey,
right.
brother, you have a brand out. I wanted to talk about that. We had got me and wife had got one of your.
I appreciate
one of
that
yours. Yeah,
too,
no, I
man.
appreciate you bringing that out. That was really. You mean 99
Problems,
problems?
but drugs and alcohol ain't one.
I was like, yo, I like that.
Yeah.
Right? Talk about the brand. Why the brand? And you explain like, you're not trying to get rich with this brand, but what are you trying to do with it? And why you were selling this brand?
What I'm trying to do with the brand is like, I'm trying to motivate people, and it gives me some professionalism. Like when people can go up and see the spiritual gangster.
Yeah.
A lot of people never been in a gang before, but if you're in your recovery, you are in a gang. We're spiritual gangsters, and we got beef with alcoholism and addiction.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah, I got you.
So the what I'm trying to do with this brand is just like motivate people, gives people something positive. There's so much negative energy out there, and so what I'm trying to do is just create a brand that can like motivate someone, put a positive message out there, but it also still has a little bit of style. Like that's why I put the gangster in there,
Yeah.
gratitude, gangster, stuff like that. And the MBM is like motivated by mathematics. I try to motivate people. Motivation gets the party started,
Yep.
but discipline gets you to the finish line.
Gotcha.
Right? So I might be able to motivate you, but you have to take some suggestions in order to get to the
Gotcha.
and apply them in order to get to the finish line. And then the M also stands for like music by mathematics. Shout out Exit Fame. He's always like, me and him come together, we do our thing.
see you guys
You know,
doing it,
he
yeah.
does shout out Exit. He's on a gratitude list. He's on like 4 months straight of the gratitude
Yeah.
list. You know what I mean? So and my man Eddie, he's been writing his gratitude list on a daily basis too. So there's a lot of brothers, and as we're talking, I'm always just remembering.
Yeah.
And then the metaphors by mathematics, and then mentoring by mathematics. So the MBM is something where I can finally feel like I did something.
Yeah.
When you get on the site, there's like motivation up there. There's memes up there that I make. You know, I like to do poetry. I like to make
Thank you for that,
memes.
yeah.
I like to do poetry. I like to do music videos. And the one thing about me, I'm a leader that doesn't want more followers. I'm a leader that's trying to create more leaders. When I do a video, I want everybody to come out, right?
Yeah,
When I do something, if you got a talent, hit me up and we can try to put something together. And the beautiful thing, like I said in my videos, nobody's smoking a cigarette. Practically everybody's in recovery. Nobody's drinking. Nobody's lighting a blunt. And you can definitely bop your head to what I'm saying and what we're putting out. And nobody's using the N-word and nobody's swearing.
Yeah.
Right?
Clean,
It's all a clean message, man. And like the rewards of that are coming. I've been asked to come, start to do some. The doors are opening, and a lot of people don't believe in me, but you don't have to, because there's a lot of strangers that do. Right? And I'm okay. And I'm highly motivated, but like I have to focus on the process and not the outcome. Because if I have one eye on the process and one eye on the outcome, my vision's blurry.
Yeah.
So I just basically, man, continue to take little small steps. I read this book every day. It's called Chop Wood and Carry Water. I highly suggest it. If you're in recovery, there's also another book. See how I'm putting other people on?
Yeah.
Called Lighter. By Young Pablo or Pueblo. I would highly suggest you read that. But and Daily Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. I read a book every day too,
Wow.
man. If you read 10 pages a day, that's 3,650 pages a year. It takes you 6 minutes to read 5 pages out of a book.
Yeah.
5 or 6 minutes in the morning, 5 or 6 minutes at night. But my brand is it's really, the website is about professionalism. When you buy a shirt from me, I have 2 jobs. My rent's gonna get paid, my car's paid, I come from good stock, right? I've been doing this for a while now. I realize that like now that I'm clean and sober, I don't even really need that much money. Me and Fresh go to a concert every now and then.
Yeah.
I like fantasy football. I do my little DraftKings and stuff like that. I do like to wear something nice every day,
yeah.
but it ain't nothing crazy. You know what I mean? I did all that, the diamonds and all that.
Yeah.
I still felt empty. So I would say I like to be clean. I like to be presentable. I like to match, but I don't need a whole bunch of flashy stuff because I can be in the room with dudes with a whole bunch of diamonds on, and I could have this on. You're gonna know I'm there. You're gonna know I'm there. Especially, don't you let me talk. You're gonna know I'm there. I might not have all those diamonds on, but you're definitely gonna know I'm in the building.
Diamonds, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Jewels,
I appreciate
here, you know what
I appreciate that, my brother. I appreciate that.
I mean? So, like you said, you're not trying to get rich, but buying shirts, what does it help you do?
So it helps me create videos. Like when you create a video, like let's say the one we did on Mass Ave, that can be anywhere from $700 to $800. And then everybody that comes to be a part of the video, I normally pass out shirts. When I go into the schools, I pass out shirts. When I do all these speaking events and poetry events, I'll ask a question about enlightenment, especially during Juneteenth. I'll say, how many times was Malcolm locked up? What about this about Nelson Mandela? Different things.
Yeah.
So when you buy my brand, I'm able to go to events and pass out stuff for free. I normally don't talk about this, but sometimes when people don't have, shout out to my spiritual mother, Mama Pugs. She helps me become a part of a donation pipeline. You know, if I got someone that's getting out of an institution or something like that, you know, when people support my brand, I'm able to go help these brothers out, man. Hit them off with a hoodie, hit them off with a shirt, do particular things. And, you know, that's if someone comes out and they're just getting out of the joint and they're in a halfway house and I know them, yo, if I have extra shirts, I can go hit them off with a couple shirts and a couple of hoodies and stuff. I'm not trying to get rich off of, when you sell a shirt or something like that, you might make $5 or $6. Man, you got to sell 100 T-shirts or 100 hoodies just to make $5.
But it's really about the message.
It's for me. You know what I mean? It's the message.
And the message. Me wearing the message. You got to walk the billboard, right?
Exactly.
So other people get to see it, and you keep inspiring this hope.
Yes.
You know, and sugar. So I think that's what it is. You know what I mean? I don't mean to cut you off.
No.
Because it's your message, but people, and for me, you know, people really need to get around stuff like this. A cup of coffee, we invest in coffee, stuff that don't do anything. These are the things that we need to invest in. You know, if you don't want to go out and spit or you don't want to go talk about it, buy a shirt and put it on somebody and they'll do it for you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You can finish, Bob. I apologize for that.
No. You definitely hit it. It's all about just like, you know, family first, mindfulness over madness, spiritual gangster, gratitude gangster. If I could save one life. These are all positive messages, and I just kind of feel like if you know you have multiple people that get on Amazon, they get on all these different. They'll order anything off of Amazon from anybody that they don't know, but then they'll have someone that they see every day, and they won't support that person. And I get it, and that's why I shout out to strangers. You know what I'm saying? Because for some reasons, and I've been victim of it too, man. Where there'll be someone I don't know, and I don't support their brand. For some reason, man, that's just the way things are. Yeah, and I'm not mad at anybody for, you know.
No, we're conditioned like that. There's somebody close to us ain't got nothing, but it's that person out there that got something that's not true. We have to invest. I always say it, you know, I got, like I said, 10 books out and been doing things. We have a clothing line out with bullying. It used to piss me off, bro. Why people don't invest, you know, in our own people that we know? Why we keep giving millionaires more money and not, you know, help somebody that's, you know, we're around or somebody local. I mean, I've had that problem for a while, but then I said, you know what, man, God is the one that multiplies, man. I just got to do it. He's going to add and subtract, and people really don't have that power.
Yes.
It's up to him, you know what I mean? So you just take it out of the hand. All right, so is there anything else you want to say? But before we didn't even get halfway done. We were over an hour or something, but we didn't even get halfway done. So you do have to come back through. I just, you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah,
That's my way to get you back through.
But
is there anything that you want to say? I mean, just anything, you know, that you want to answer or you want to say before I let you allow you to go and give them.
I just really want to thank you for having some confidence in me.
Anytime,
you came
bro.
today, man, with a whole bunch of like encouraging sentiments, warm words.
Anytime,
you were very authentic. I can feel I can feel the love, and it's really good to just see this space and see, you know, the Matt Buchanan's, the Joey. I've seen like Joey on here. I saw Matt Gannon and all the different people. These are guys that I look up to from what the movements that they're doing.
And they look up to you too, because I was talking about it. People say get Matt. I'm like, Johnny.
So there's a lot. Come on, Lebo. So Tyshawn, like you have some people coming on here. And I just appreciate you, man, considering me and actually having me come out here. And then you actually sat down, man, and like, we were in the same joints before,
Yeah.
but we didn't always interact.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're just real engaging, man. It's nice to be able to come on here. You made me feel real comfortable and warm. And this really, in order to build self-esteem,
Yeah.
you have to do esteemable acts.
Yeah.
And me coming on here today and just being able to be transparent and honest, this is esteemable act. My self-esteem will grow from doing this.
I appreciate it. I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
you coming, bro. It was really dope. All right, so there's a person might be struggling, stigma or anything. Go ahead, give a message. You got to take your time and give a message that you want to get. That's your camera right there.
Peace. So our mathematics, in closing, I just want to let the person that might be struggling, or the mother that might be feeling like their child's not going to make it, or the girlfriend or the kid's father or the baby's mother that feels like their kid's father's never going to change, or the woman that got her kids taken and you feel like you're never going to change. I came home from prison in 2017 with state flip-flops on, state jeans, a white tee, a blue shirt, and I had a check for $70 to my name. Good thing I had a good mother that sent me some clothes from Arizona. My man Fresh over here, he came by after I was there for like 2 or 3 weeks. He blessed me with some stuff, gave me some money to help me like get some things to get established. I came home with nothing, and then I was able, from prioritizing my recovery, to go back and work at Wyman Reentry, the same place that I was released to. After doing all that time in prison, I'm able to go and actually work in a prison now. After having broken relationships with my kids, I'm able to be a father to all my kids now. After giving my mother 32 years of sleepless nights, she's able to sleep and rest now. After me going around and selling drugs in my community, be it like paying boosters to go in stores and stealing from my community, I'm able, he just read in those sentiments, to be known as a gentleman now that's giving back to his community, that's motivating his community, that's being a power of example in his community. And if I can go from Mass Ave, being at the bus stop, to Spiritual Path Math, and being able to be invited to come on the Real Talk show, Real Talk TV, with this good brother here and make a difference, and being able to work in the recovery field now after being in detox 131 times, 8 holdings, and 4 halfway houses. If I can do it, you can do it too, right? But you have to believe in yourself. You have to take some time to know yourself. You can't just be motivated. You have to be disciplined, right? Consistency is your friend. Complacency is your enemy. If you have this disease of alcohol and addiction, we cannot just do one, right? One is too many and 1,000 is never enough, right? If you want to just get clean and sober, go to meetings. But if you want to feel good, live good, think different, and act different, the application of the 12 steps. Recovery is possible. I don't care what pathway you take. I personally practice the 12 steps, but recovery is possible, but you got to put in the work. And with that, I'm mathematics. Peace.
Appreciate it, bro. Yeah,
All right.
Appreciate you coming.
All
You
right.
gotta come back through,
All
bro.
right.
100%,
For sure, my
man.
brother. For sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys, man. Appreciate this show. Appreciate for this brother showing up, man. And he will come back again. Shout out to Exit Fame.
Exit
Hopefully
Fame,
next
let's
week.
go.
Hopefully you're here next week.
Exit Fame.
I appreciate that. Again, like this brother said, man, recovery's possible. There's people that are coming back, and they're always showing people who are dying. And I get it, like I always say, I get it, but I think that breeds hopelessness. My show, and what I try to do is show people who are living and living successfully, right? Because I'm trying to bring hope and let people know that this thing is possible. And for the addict or for the person that's out there struggling, that you can come back. You can come back. You can get back up. I mean, like he said, I fell many times, man. 28 years in prison, man. And I didn't go to jail for big crimes. I went to jail just because I wanted to get high. I was trying to get high, coming back from getting high, or whatever. It was always around crack for 28 years. And now I'm sitting here, man, trying to make other dreams come true and try to help other people. But I just wanted to again say thank you. This show, like I said, once Alex is back, we'll have the show on, and I'll get it to you. And I thank you guys for watching. Please continue to. Oh, one more thing. Excuse me. Your podcast. Can you want to talk a little bit about that real quick? I'm sorry about that, but I really wanted to.
So the podcast will be before June.
Okay.
And it's going to be called Started from the Bottom.
Good
and it's going to tell stories about how people started at the bottom and what you did to rise to the top. And shout out to my sponsor, pugs. You know that my sponsor's going through something right now. So if anybody out there that has some time to put some prayers, some positive energy in the universe, I'd appreciate it. And I just want to say to my mother, thank you for never giving up on me.
Thank you for never giving up on him, man.
And all my children's mothers, man, that really allow me. I work a lot of hours, and all my they have to help me down while I was incarcerated. So I want to make sure, that the single mothers out there and the mothers that hold it down while we're a mess. I want to make sure that they get the respect and love they deserve too. So shout out to to my baby's mothers and all those mothers out there in general.
Thank you. Yes, and thank you for you guys, man, for watching the show, supporting the show. You continue to like the show, share it, and please, you guys been missing that subscribe button. Please hit that subscribe button. That just shows love back to the studio and the people that run this show. And in closing, as always, I like to say I love you to Taisha. I like to say I love you to little Darryl, and I like to say I love you to Zaya. Peace.